So in this first clip, Fauci clearly says, in reference to a question regarding the 100,000 deaths, he said that we don't accept that number. We have to be prepared. We have to anticipate that, but our goal is to get it significantly reduced.
So our hope is to get that down as far as we possibly can. The modeling that Dr. Birx showed predicts that number that you saw. We don't accept that number that's what's going to be. We're going to be doing everything we can to get it even significantly below that. So, I don't want it to be a mixed message. This is the thing that we need to anticipate, but that doesn't mean that that's what we're going to accept. We want to do much, much better than that.
Okay, the next clip, well, Fauci reemphasizes we don't accept it. We need to prepare for it. Our intention is to get it pushed down. Notice Dr. Birx in the background nodding her head. Okay, she's clearly listening to what Fauci's saying, and she's in agreement. Now, pay attention to the next question. So he just explained what we, the scientists, the experts in infectious diseases, this is what we see. Okay, we see an opportunity to get that number way, way down, and that's what we're trying to do. The next question goes right back to, well, then what is the low end of the model? Well, the model's still 100,000, okay? And you'll hear them say that. So, again, it's not the model. The model is not driving the process. The model is a tool that's informing them, and they're sharing that with us so that we can see what they see. But what you have to do is try to understand what they're communicating here. So, again, you hear Fauci clearly stating, and you can tell he believes it. We can get this number way down. We don't accept it. But then the question goes right, okay, well, I'm going to dismiss, maybe this wasn't intent, but I'm going to dismiss what you, the expert, just said, and I just want to go back to the model. Well, the model hasn't changed because of what he said. The model is a tool. The tool still says the same thing. But I, Dr. Fauci, say something different. This is how I use the tool. This is how I interpret it. This is what we do in response to the tool. Okay? But if you want to go back and ask me what the tool says, it says what it says. So there's where the disconnect starts to show up, okay? When I saw these questions, I knew that the reporting was going to be wrong. So if people are only getting their information from what reporters and pundits are saying, they don't know what the position of Fauci and Birx were. And a lot of people right now are criticizing them and saying that they don't know what they're doing, the models are wrong, everything's wrong, and we just need to turn the economy back on. And that's just very, very false. So you really need to go back and look at what Fauci and Birx said.
No, I mean, Dr. Birx explained it very, very well. I just want to get back, John, to your question. It's a logical question. When you look at the number, you want to know what the demography is going to be. This is a number that we need to anticipate, but we don't necessarily have to accept it as being inevitable. And that's getting back to what I'm saying about we can influence this to a varying degrees. And if we influence it to the maximum, we don't have to accept that. That's something we need to anticipate. But I want to do, not I, all of us want to do much, much better than that.
Well, I mean, on that front, what do the models suggest is on the low end if you have full mitigation?
Well, it says
that was full mitigation.
That was full mitigation. Yeah. Well, Mr. President,
Okay, when you watch the next clip, bear in mind, these clips are not in order. I used them to help, I organized them in order that helps my train of thought, that helps me explain. So these aren't necessarily in order, but the clip begins with one of the reporters asking about the 100,000 deaths. And you hear Fauci clearly try to explain what a model is. And he says the models are only good as the assumptions that are put into it. He talks about how they're going to update the model on a regular basis. You can see Dr. Birx in the background nodding her head. So pay attention again to what he's saying. The question shows that people are still stuck on the model and the number. They're only considering a part of the story. They're looking at the tool, but not listening to the decision makers and the experts that know better than they do and better than any of us how to use and apply those tools.
Understood, but if 100,000 is the number with full mitigation, how do you push it, lower?
So, no, we'll go together. We've been at this a long time. You go first.
So, John, it's an obvious, very good question. If this is full mitigation and it's 100,000, why am I standing here saying I want to make it better? Because that's what the model tells you it's going to do. What we do is that every time we get more data, you feed it back in and relook at the model. Is the model really telling you what's actually going on? And again, I know my modeling colleagues are going to not be happy with me, but models are as good as the assumptions you put into them. And as we get more data, then you put it in, and that might change. So even though it says, according to the model, which is a good model that we're dealing with, this is full mitigation. As we get more data, as the weeks go by, that could be modified.
Okay, this next clip, very short, Dr. Birx gives her term confidence interval. It's what I'd been calling tolerance or an envelope in the graph. And it explains the video I did that said the IHME model was not wrong. It wasn't wrong, okay? What it said was going to happen is still happening. And, you know, she explains that. And that helps also shed some light on, okay, you keep saying 100,000. How do we get that down? You know, she's just showing in that particular death model that there's a confidence interval.
I don't know if you can go back to slide 2, because I wanted to explain 2 things that I think is really important, because we had a lot of questions about mortality and what it meant. Okay, so you see this confidence interval? So here's the line. This is the confidence interval. This is where we have the ability to push it down. So you have a large confidence interval around the line. And so we're trying to move that gray down tighter and below the dotted line. So I think that's really important. And then if you can go to the next slide.
Okay, so I've been telling you the model says one thing, the experts are saying another. The model's a tool. It indicates, it tells us something. And the experts are saying that's not guaranteed going to happen. Models are only as good as the assumptions we put them in. They're only a tool that doesn't dictate our future, okay? It informs us. It informs our action. So the next question, reasonable question might be, okay, can you give me more specifics? You as the expert, how do you see, where do you see the opportunity for bringing this number down? Well, this next clip describes the other graphs. She uses the term logarithmic, which is just a word for her to explain a high rising curve, okay? The line on the leading edge of the curve. And she explains that that's where we are in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and we believe with the earlier mitigation in other parts of the country, we're going to stop the other cities from running that curve. Now, the best information we have is what's going on in those other cities. So the model is using that data, okay, even the mitigated data. But we really don't know what's going to happen in the other cities with the earlier mitigation. So that's where the opportunity is to beat the model. So in a way, you can look at this as like a competition between the experts and the model. Okay, if the experts aren't a slave to the model, but in a way they look at that and they say, this is bad and it's our job to do better than that. So it's kind of a competition. So some are saying now that, well, why didn't we just, quarantine New York and New Jersey, the hot spots, and let the rest of the country go? Well, when you listen to this next 2 clips, you'll see that the reason why they're looking to take that 100,000 number, bring it significantly down by stopping the spread in the other states. Now, again, the Italy curve tells them that we're not necessarily too late to reduce the peak in New York, New Jersey either, but the goal is for in the other states to not ever get on that high rate of rise.
Yeah.
New York had community spread pretty early undetected, so don't many of those other states, if not more of them, who had even less information, aren't they likely to see the same spike?
Well, California and Washington State reacted very early to this. I mean, yes, Washington State had some of the earliest infections. They have kept it low and steady, and for now a month has been tracking it with a small increase in the number of cases, but not this logarithmic form of the virus. And so that's the piece that we're trying to prevent. That's the piece that we're trying to prevent in New Orleans, in Detroit, in Chicago, and in Boston right now. And trying to make sure that each of those cities work more like California than the New York metro area.
Okay, final clip. Begins with Dr. Fauci saying, yes, we have to be prepared for the 100,000 and beyond. We need to be prepared. Those are possibilities. But then we get an opportunity to hear Dr. Birx also explaining the goal of pushing down the amount of infections in the other states outside of New York and New Jersey. And then you even see Fauci jump in after her speak, with great enthusiasm. Like, you can almost see the energy that, yeah, we're finally on to something, okay? We're finally clicking. We're finally getting to a point where they're understanding and they see and they know what we're trying to explain. So he seizes that opportunity and jumps in there.
Dr. Fauci, should Americans be prepared for the likelihood that there will be 100,000 Americans who die from this virus?
The answer is yes. We need, as sobering a number as that is, we should be prepared for it. Is it going to be that much? I hope not. And I think the more we push on the mitigation, the less likelihood it would be that number. But as being realistic, we need to prepare ourselves that is a possibility, that's what we will see.
A very short period of time for that to happen.
Right.
Can the country handle that in such a short period of time, within a couple of months? 50,000 a month.
It will be difficult. I mean, no one is denying the fact that we are going through a very, very difficult time right now. I mean, we're seeing what's happening in New York. That is really, really tough. And if you extrapolate that to the nation, that will be really tough. But that's what it is, Jim, and we're going to have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I think because that model that was from IHME, that's based and heavily laden by the data that has come in from New York and New Jersey and Connecticut. So, that can skew to a higher peak and more significant mortality. If all of the other states are able, and all the other metro areas are able to hold that case number down, then it's a very different picture. But you have to predict on the data you have, which is heavily skewed to New York and New Jersey.
Just one extra thing. Getting back to that, that's really an important slide that Dr. Birx showed. The cluster of other cities that are not New York and not New Jersey. If we can suppress that from any kind of a spike, the numbers could be significantly lower than what we're talking about.
Some cities that are not following these guidelines.
And that's the reason my plea at the end of my remarks, Jim, that now is the time to put your foot on the accelerator, because that's the only thing that's going to stop those peaks.
Now, these are a short sample of a 2+ hour press briefing that included a lot of remarks from the president, a lot of remarks from the vice president. But this, to me, is the meat. Okay, if you have people telling you, or if you believe that the models were wrong, that the experts were wrong, then hopefully you're not so committed to your narrative, so committed to your view of things and concern that you're able to see, yes, okay, these people were right. They said this is what the model says, this is what we want to do, and they did it. They did a great job, and now we want to punish them. Okay? It's like you going to work and your boss saying, how long is that project going to take? And you say, well, the project's going to take 6 months. And he says, oh, we need it sooner. And you go overboard and you do all these great things. Then you complete it in 4 months. And then your boss looks at you and says, well, you were wrong about the 6 months. It was never 6 months. You just did that. You just wanted to manipulate me. That's not what happened, okay? They were telling you. The press didn't report it. Go back and read the press, read the headlines and read the articles. All they said was 100,000. The best thing you read in those stories after this press briefing is 100,000 dead. That's the most optimistic thing that you heard. Everything else was much higher. Okay, so listen to the experts. Models don't run the story here. And and let's just put that to bed and let's move forward. I just want to move forward in a go back to work strategy. Some of the things that we can do, and we're starting to hear that. We even heard Fauci talking about participating in that decision process. So we need to be paying attention to that. I will try to help do that. But, I just had to do this because there's just so much narrative out there bashing these people and claiming that we did the wrong thing. And now I saved a lot of other clips out of this that show Trump clearly communicating his decision-making process, what he went through to decide to do this. And so for anyone that thinks that, our country is he's surrendered control of the country and, the liberals are taking over or, these radical model people are taking over. I could share that with you. Okay. I don't know if I'll get around to making a video with it because I really want to get off of this March 31st press briefing and bring things up to date. But, get ahead of the press, get ahead of your friends. We have some people out there that, regardless of what a scientist says, or if it's printed as being from science, they don't question it, right? They just accept it. You can tell them the sky is blue one day and the sky is green the next day, and they just won't even, hey, science said so. So you have those kind of people, right? So they don't look at it critically. But then we have the other people that say, ooh, they didn't say. So they're sort of going the other extreme and saying, well, what they said was wrong. No, what the press reported was wrong. What they said was not wrong, okay? Another mistake people make is they look at the curve for themselves and they see, oh, well, it's going out to June or it's going, so we're never going to turn the economy back on. What's going on here? Now, there's definitely going to be some debate about that, okay? But we need to pay attention to what Fauci and Birx and Trump are saying in regard to that situation because they're the ones making the decisions. And again, if you look at the curve or you take even some other scientists, sure, listen to what other experts say to help you understand what's going on, but realize they're not making the decisions, okay? Your understanding of the curve is not making the decision. The curve doesn't make the decisions, okay? The team, ultimately, Trump is going to make that decision. Now, he's already said he's formed a team, a second task force, so let's see what happens. But that's where I think we need to focus. I think we need to stop trying to discredit the models, stop trying to discredit the scientists and say that, all the evidence proves that what they did was wrong because it doesn't. It doesn't. There is no evidence that what these people said or did was wrong and bad for the country. There's a lot of unknown, okay, because we didn't let ourselves go without doing the mitigation. So no, we can never prove what would have happened, but we can look at Italy and we can look at other parts of Europe and, China, you have to kind of take with a grain of salt because we don't know what information was real and not. But please crush that narrative, okay? That whole narrative that says, oh, they said 1 million, now it's only, the million was a whole different number, okay? That was if we didn't mitigate. No way to prove if that was right or wrong. But for everything that we know now and everything that they said, they've been right. They were right. They were correct. They didn't get any of this wrong. There is zero evidence to show that they did anything wrong. None. You can speculate. You can argue that do it my way, it would have been better, okay? But you don't have accountability. None of the reporters, none of these, pundits or experts, none of them have accountability for the outcome. They can change their mind on a whim, and it doesn't matter. They can argue and get people to listen and get people excited about it, but they have zero responsibility and accountability, okay? And if you watch some of the Trump clips where he's talking about how he made the decision, there's a man with responsibility. He has accountability. That for the people that die, it's on his shoulders. That's what I want, okay? I want the people making decisions. Who am I going to trust when you talk about trusting? I'm going to trust the people that have the accountability, that have the broad knowledge, they're responsible, and, that they're qualified. So that's what we have here, folks. They're doing a great job. Okay. They deserve praise. I mean, this team deserves praise and they're not getting it. Unbelievable. All right. Thanks for watching. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I'll bring you more. Bye.